withdrawn. And we'll now take up 3S. The senator wish to waive the reading?
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I will not take long. I think I get the way we're heading here. Mr. President, earlier this session, we had a number of bills that would put some limits on executive powers. Mr. President, I've stood on this floor many times and talked about the fact that I believe that we are free people that should be represented by a representative democracy, and that at some point the legislature should have been in months ago dealing with the issues that are before us. Mr. President, I talk about that surreal moment where I listened to someone, not the governor, but a representative of the governor, talk at a press conference about how we are to have doubles ice dancing, and on it went. Mr. President, I think looking back on it, we will have 20/20 visions on things that we should have done and could have done that could have been better, maybe some more restrictive, many not. Mr. President, this actually gives us structure. Mr. President, I put it in the budget for a very specific reason. One, people indicated that the bills that we heard before they thought was too restrictive. And number two, they said it won't go into effect in time. Well, on the first point, I tended to disagree, but I've fixed that issue. And number two, the budget is the only way to have a measure like this go into effect immediately, unless you consider one item. And that is that we had a drop box bill earlier this year that was unlike any other bill ever. It was deemed to be a general appropriation bill. It only requires a majority, and it passed, and it basically was an emergency clause. Mr. President, I wasn't bright enough to think that up. I've never seen it before in my 28 years here, so this is the only way. This is the only, in my opinion, general appropriation bill, so it's the only way for this to go into effect immediately. Mr. President, let me tell you what this does not do. This does not any longer, with the provisions that are in this substitute, do away with any executive order that may come up either from the Commissioner of Health or from His Excellency, but it does, for the first time, do in Virginia what many other states currently do. And that is, it says that if you're going to have an executive order that is intended to go beyond 90 days, that we should call the legislature back into session. Mr. President, I think that is the way we should do it. I know there are some here that tend to agree with me on both sides of the aisle. Some say let's do it in a bill. That's okay. But I believe that the budget is the only way to get this done. So that's the reason I've introduced it. I know you've heard from me on this subject before. I hope if we don't do this, because there's some lockdown on the budget amendments, that we do take this up and we join other states and say that the Senate of Virginia and the 5 feet of the Code of Virginia matter, not just an executive during times of executive order. So, Mr. President, that is the amendment, and I hope we will pass it.
Thank you, Senator.